Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Alicia Watley.
Hi, Alicia. I'm Mike Broad.
I'm Tim Havler.
And I'm Jeff Kerensky. I'm with the membership department of PLRB.
Yay, Jeff's back.
Welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. You know the drill. Jeff, what's the scenario?
So we have a construction scenario where we've got a general contractor who's hired to build a client's new corporate headquarters.
Nice.
And you know what happens at these construction sites one
What?
night? Thieves cut the job site security fence, get inside, and they steal generator, a concrete saw, a forklift, all belonging to our contractor, plus a pallet of marble tiles that were going to be made part of the building, and some precast concrete wall panels for the building that were sitting on the back of a trucking company's truck that was parked at the job site and was going to be unloaded later on. So then the insured makes a claim with their carrier under their CP form, and guess what?
What?
Surprise, there's no coverage.
What?
Yeah. So now our contractor is angry and wondering what type of policy they should have had to cover this type of loss.
Just impressed that they stole all that stuff.
Especially the concrete wall panels.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right. They probably took the whole truck with them.
Oh. Hey, Jeff, can you do me one favor, though?
What is that?
I know what it is, but for our listeners out there, what's a CP policy?
Well, a CP policy is a commercial property policy.
Ah, thank you.
And it is usually intended to cover the building that a building owner owns, and it covers, it's a property, not a liability type of coverage.
Thank you.
Jeff, I need to ask you one non-insurance question before we go any further. Since this episode is going to be coming out early in the new year, what resolution will you have made when this episode goes live in 2025?
No pressure.
Right. I could say to lose 10 pounds, but I'm going to go with not to use the agent that the general contractor used here, who only sold him a CP form in this construction scenario.
Wait a minute. I thought this was a non-insurance question.
Yeah, right.
It always comes back to insurance with
Right.
us. I wonder why.
Single track mind, Jeff.
Well,
Oh,
what
Mike
about
or
you,
Alicia,
Tim?
what are your resolutions?
Oh, you're gonna come to
Oh.
me next. My resolution is just keep my head up. Tupac said.
Wow, I didn't know that. Sweet.
You know, I don't do well with resolutions. Make the resolutions. You even do vision boards, or sometimes you write things down in a journal, and then it just all goes to. So, my role, my head up, do what I got to do.
What's a vision board?
Oh, a vision board is something where you have these ideas of what you want to do. Say a vacation you want to go on, or like a piece of jewelry you want to buy, or something you want to accomplish. Basically make like a collage, a picture collage of what your vision board is. Because if you visualize it, more likely you go towards the steps to achieving that goal.
All right.
Well, heck, I was going to say to read more, Alicia, for my resolution, but now I'm going to do a vision board.
You're going to do a vision board. And actually, there's this new thing with, you could do, for those who aren't into pictures, there's like this vision board bingo card. So for those who need a little extra push, you put all the goals for 2025 and you mark them off like a bingo card. That's what you're into.
Love it.
Some people need to see it visually in order for it to, come to fruition.
Hence the name vision board. Yes, got it. Cool. Tim, what about you? You're not getting.
Oh, I can't do resolutions. I used to, but I don't think I ever went to February where it was still working.
There's your resolution. You're going to make it to March next year, whatever year it is.
But doing what?
whatever it is.
Vision board. Put
Hey,
it on
whatever's
your
on your
vision board.
vision board, man.
I'll make it to March.
Perfect.
Cool.
All
All
right,
right,
enough
so
of
back to the
resolution.
scenario, I
Right.
guess.
Thanks, Alicia. Time to focus, right? Keep your head up and focus.
Exactly.
What I heard. So I would like to ask Jeff, now that we know that's a commercial property policy in play here, I know part of that is coverage for business personal property. And at least a lot of this stuff certainly seems to be business personal property. So why the heck wouldn't it be covered under that CP policy? Huh?
Well, the CP form is generally intended to cover the insured's business personal property while it is at the described premises.
Ooh,
And the described premises in this case would have been the general contractor's office or headquarters. It would not be a job site. So, all the things that were stolen here were off premises.
okay.
Now there is, you know, and there is a property off
Exception?
premises extension, yes,
Yes.
but that's problematic.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't like problems. I like solutions. So, has to be what, within 100 feet or something of the property? Is that
well, the 100 feet comes into play under just the normal CP coverage, but once you go outside of 100 feet, um, generally without an endorsement, uh, there's not going to be coverage for anything that's stolen off premises.
Okay.
this? Oh, I
So
was going to say clearly this was 100 feet past the insured's premises, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it was, I'm miles away.
it's not fair. But anyway, isn't there something we can't find something?
Under the
Right.
Help.
CP policy, under the CP policy, I mentioned there is a property off premises coverage extension, but that's problematic as well because um, the property has to be temporarily at a location that the insured does not own, lease, or operate. And so, there are other conditions as well, but those are the two main ones. And so, if you look at the temporary requirement, here the general contractor's marble tiles and the precast panels, they were not, believe it or not, temporarily at the job site. I mean, yes, they were temporarily on a pallet or on the back of a truck, but the fact of the matter is they were delivered to the job site, and therefore they were not intended to ever leave the job site ever again. They were going to be permanently installed, unlike the contractor's generator and saw and forklift,
Right.
where those were going to be removed once the job was done. So the
Well,
temporary requirement is going to ban, coverage for the panels and the tile. And then this is kind of an interesting thing. The other condition that it's got to be property that the insured does not own, lease, or operate. So you could say, well, wait a minute. This is a contractor. He doesn't own the job site. It's
right.
not his building, but
Right.
he's the one that's in charge. He is the one who erected the fence and locked it up. He's the one that invites whatever subcontractors and what have you to come and go from the job site. And so arguably, the general contractor here is operating the job site and has control. So as a result, that's going to, in all likelihood, preclude coverage for everything. And then lastly, I mentioned that these panels were, on the back of a truck, and the coverage extension here under the CP form says, hey, no coverage for property in or on a vehicle. So that would apply to the panels as well. So for those four reasons, none of the stolen property at the job site would have been covered under the contractor's CP form.
Okay, so they had a CP form, but we're saying there's little to no coverage under that CP form. Oh, I guess I would ask what were they supposed to do? If they had all
Right.
the stuff that they had a risk exposure for, they need to cover it somehow. CP is not going to be good enough. So what should they have done?
Right. They
That
paid all this money, Tim, over all these years for this coverage, and now you're telling them, Jeff, they got nothing. What can I do?
Well, the short answer is they should have gotten the appropriate inland marine insurance.
Huh? What's this got to do with boats?
Well, originally, the marine part of it,
Huh?
not inland marine, but marine
Uh-huh.
insurance, marine insurance were
Right.
written when virtually all commercial goods were transported by boat or ship, and the great majority of the population lived within a few miles of a coast or major river. But now, due largely to the development of railroads and highways, the U.S. expanded inland, and marine insurance was basically extended to provide warehouse to warehouse coverage,
Hmm.
which covers and insures goods from the seller's warehouse all the way up until it's delivered to the insured.
Wow. Well, Jeff, you'll be happy to know that I still live in a van down by the river.
Hmm.
Oh, gee.
Well, then you can get marine insurance.
Yay.
All right, so enough with the history lesson. Okay, so
hey, I like the history.
no,
Yeah, me too.
fine. let's get on with this. What does inland marine actually cover, though?
Ooh, good question.
It refers to a variety of coverages and types of policies. So there's not a form called inland marine. It's a variety of types of policies that are designed to insure property that may not be adequately covered under a standard property coverage form like a CP form or a BP form. So while there are a number of inland marine forms, the most common ones are builder's risk, installation floater, contractor's equipment, and motor truck cargo liability.
Hmm.
Okay, so we got builder's risk, installation floater, contractor's equipment, motor truck cargo. Let's say the insured had the first one and they had a builder's risk. Would that have helped them out here?
Well, the builder's risk insurance is intended to protect the insurable interests of either the owner of the building or structure that is being constructed, or the insurable interests of the contractor who's constructing the building. So that's what we have here. So
Right.
so the contractor, even though he doesn't own the building, he could have and should have gotten a builder's risk policy here. The construction contract will generally state whether the owner or the contractor is supposed to purchase the builder's risk policy. And the builder's insurance covers the buildings and other structures during the course of construction. So once it's constructed, that's the end of the builder's risk. And the building and structures, the terms are actually defined as including materials and supplies. Because you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, Jeff. We didn't have a loss to the building here. We had the panels and things like that. So
That was my exact question, Jeff. So that's awesome. Do you know
well,
what I was thinking?
I'm glad you're actually listening, Mike.
Oh,
So that will become, so the materials and supplies are covered if they'll become a permanent part of the building,
gotcha.
such as bricks or pipes or wires or nails. I mean, it's lumber, doors and windows. So while on the job site or on the way to the job site, they can be covered, as long as they are identified as intended to be part of the construction. And then the builder's risk also covers items like scaffolding, cribbing, or construction forms used to construct the building or structure. It can also include a temporary trailer used as a temporary office. So under this claim scenario here, the pallet of marble tiles would be covered,
Huh?
and the precast wall panels would be covered because those are materials that were intended to be part of the building.
Uh-huh.
But probably would not include or not cover the generators or the saw or the forklift, since none of those things were materials or supplies and not intended to become part of the building. They were rather machinery, tools, and equipment. So anyway, next time we can go over more about the inland marine forms, the other ones and what they cover and what the risks are, and more importantly, perhaps, is where one inland marine form ends and another one picks up.
Wow. I can't wait, Jeff.
Sounds like a part 2. That means you have to come back.
Yeah.
But before we send you away this time, you have to tell us, Jeff, what can we take away from this scenario?
Well, the basics are, number one, a CP form is not going to cover the vast majority of an insured's off-premises property, and including the property off-premises extension in the CP form is not going to help out in most cases because of the temporary requirement, and more importantly, that the contractor is, if they're the general contractor, they're going to be viewed often as operating that construction site. And then property in a vehicle is going to knock out anything that's stolen from the vehicle. And depending on the contractor's role in the construction process, they should really be sure they have the inland marine form that best fits their needs. And we can talk about that in the next podcast. But the builder's risk form really here could have provided coverage for the general contractor's materials and supplies at the job site, but they might need additional coverage for their tools and equipment that they brought there.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And Mike, where
Yeah.
can an adjuster go to learn more?
Oh, Tim, check us out at plrb.org. You'll find all sorts of information on inland marine. We have some property question and answers out there specific to that. We also have form reviews on builder's risk that you can check out. So check us out, plrb.org. Alicia, can you share these in the show notes?
No.
Oh, good. It's a new year, new resolution. No more sharing. Look it up yourself, people. Right.
No, I wouldn't do that to our listeners. So
Good.
yes, it absolutely add those links to the show notes. You can also find a recap of the key points from this episode. You can find links to our social media and information on how to submit your own adjuster story.
Yay.
So, don't forget to subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll see everyone next time.
Yay, including Jeff.
All
I'm
right.
excited. Bye, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.